I'm going to walk you through everything I did to this mix to make it sound like it does. Right now, I'm going to show you exactly what the chorus sounds like, and then we're just going to break it down. We're going to see how this goes. This is a fresh and exciting idea for me to show you what I've done to make a song sound the way it does. Here we go. You can hear this whole song on the internet. You'll figure it out. All right, so we're going to start with the drums, and I'm going to show you the processing I did on them, show them to you solo, show them to you dry, and we'll kind of see how it is. Here are the drums. We'll go to the chorus section and keep it there. So here you go. Pretty squashed. Pretty squashed, a little pumpy. We've got a handful of things here. These EQs and the Chroma Glow are actually just, I think, what was on there by default. I don't know if I really adjusted these much. Logic, the built-in drummer, I know I'm probably a musically criminal for using the Logic drummer. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It works for me, you know. It works for me. I've got these couple of plugins here that were like I said, they were just kind of on there. And then I've got this API 550, which all I've done here is I've turned on the analog to give it a little bit of saturation, and I brought down 200 hertz to reduce a little bit of mud in the drums. Then I've got this X limiter, which I can kind of show you what it's doing. So that's just chopping off the caps, you know, it's chopping off the peaks. And that is just to make it where it gives it a little more like kind of pumping action, but it also makes it where you can bring the master a little bit louder in the end, so it gives you a little bit of headroom. So I'll show you what that sounds like without my plugins on there. We're gonna leave their plugins on there since I didn't really do anything with those. So it just sounds a little bit tighter and a little bit more controlled, but nothing too crazy on there. And we're going to move on to the bass. Oh yeah. On this album, I actually, at the very end, I brought the bass down on everything because I just felt like it was a little too fat. And I kind of wish I hadn't done that. I wish I would have left the bass kind of a little more full, but it's all still present, still there. These first few plugins, I think were probably already on there. I used the Logic presets, man, and then I adjust them to taste. This compressor, I might have actually done a little bit here, so we'll kind of show you this. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think I did do this because they wouldn't have put this attack probably to 0 like I did. Auto gain off, I don't like that. I like to bring up the volume myself after applying compression. You know, these settings are all to taste, but I just kind of did it for some control to make it kind of flatten it out a little bit, honestly, because my bass playing is not super well performed. I'm not a professional bass player, but I can, you know, get by. So that's this. Just, I mean, a good little bit of compression on there. So next we've got a little bit of EQ here, which I'm sure I did this, reduce the boominess here at 124 hertz. Yeah, just I always be chopping down the bottom of the bass guitar, leaving the mids there, unless it calls for it. Then even like I said, even more here, I've got this going. So yeah. I mean, I just absolutely chopped out the bottom there. And I'm using this Pro MB. I've probably got it standard attack and release, whatever it's just set to. Just more control for the low end, so it's not so boomy. I don't, you know, with rock music, I don't really like a lot of low end. I like the kick to come through and the kick in the drums, but when it comes to the bass guitar, I don't want it to be boomy. You know, especially if you listen to old rock records, I know they were mixing to systems that didn't have a lot of low end, but old rock records, I mean, the bass is practically non-existent. You don't want to do that, but it can work. It can work. Rock music can definitely benefit from not having a crazy amount of low end. It can also benefit from having a lot. It depends on what you're going for. So here is this riffing guitar. All right, so once again, I'm using some Logic presets. Straight up. Fuzz for Days. I don't think I did anything to it here. Yeah, nah, I didn't go in and adjust squat probably. This is a crazy EQ curve. I might actually mess with this a little bit. I probably brought up this 800 right here can make your guitars cut like, okay, like if you're listening on an iPhone speaker, what I've found kind of recently is this 800 really brings some presence to the guitar in an iPhone speaker, and you can bump it a good bit and you won't really notice it too much elsewhere. Like generally speaking, in my experience, it's not going to like cause like a lot of overwhelm, I guess, bumping up this 800 hertz area. So that's that. And then I put this on here. So this actually made a big difference. I put this SSL channel strip on here, and I boosted a ton at 6.79 kilohertz and a little bit. Actually, that's the same area, which is whatever. Hey, I mean, it sounds good. It sounds good. And then I did a little subtraction at 0.56. So that's all kind of in the same area, which hey man, I don't know sometimes I do stuff and I don't know why I did it, but that, I'll show you audibly the difference that makes. So this is pretty substantial. Way brightened that up. And I will say this, this stuff all matters in context. Hearing it by itself, this is just kind of to show you like literally what I did. But the reason I do anything is because it sounds good in the song. You don't want to just copy these settings or something like that. These are just kind of, references for maybe starting points or like things that might work, but it's all subjective. It's all about practice, period, end of story. We're going to move on to the rhythm guitar. So this is an interesting one. I think I did 2 separate presets, and I might have adjusted these some. I actually have like a different guitar sound on the left and a different guitar sound on the right. And I think the reason I did this is because, I'm actually using just one guitar take and splitting it to 2 sides. So something you can do, honestly, I just recommend getting 2 takes if you can. But what I did here, since I didn't use 2 takes, is I just did 2 different guitar sounds. So that can kind of reduce any kind of weird phasiness, like, if you don't want to do like an effect, like a flanger or chorus or something to spread it out. You can use 2 different amps, split it off to the sides, and it can kind of work. It might not sum the best to mono, but it's still pretty good. So I didn't do a whole lot to these. These boosts in here might have been built into the preset a little bit. And the amps, I might have touched them some, but maybe not much. Just for fun, I'll show you what these sound like raw, with nothing going on. And that's going to be, let's take all this off. I'll just show you one of them, but yeah, we're going full DI on that, but we're not using that DI for sure. Takes away the rock and roll just a little bit. So there you go. And then I have a 550B. That's one of my favorite EQs. So what I did with this API 550 is I boosted it 800, and I cut at 1. And I cut at 200. That reduces some mud. This reduces some honkiness, and this does that little boost that I was telling you about to make it cut through the mix a little better. Very subtle difference there. We're going to go into the next thing, which this is a really like far underlying rhythm guitar. It's very quiet in the mix. It kind of just fills it out a little bit. I'll show you what it kind of does to the song. So it really provides this kind of like high mid presence to the song, and I'll show you what it actually sounds like by itself. It's like really subtle kind of thing. So on this, I very much purposefully, I cut the hell out of the bottom end here because I just wanted it to give that kind of thwacky whatever underneath the song. I didn't do a whole lot. This is another Logic preset that I just kind of adjusted. That spins. This is the spin cycle. I like them. I don't know. Some people hate on them. That's fine. I use them and they build out my song, so I'm hanging on to them. Okay, so here's a fun little thing I did. This is the effect on the chorus where it's like kind of like the vocal reverse reverb is literally what it is. So I can show you what it sounds like by itself, and then I'll show you in context. Really sounds like, The Grudge or something like that. So this is what it sounds like in context of the song. So there's a little bit of processing on there. So it looks like, okay, I cut out actually most every bit of the lows here. And then because it's a stereo reverb that it's on, I cut out the middle. So I did mid-side processing, I did the middle, and I cut out the middle where the vocals go, so that the reverse reverb doesn't overpower the lead vocal. And then I put a compressor on it, and we'll kind of see what that's doing. Very light compressing just to give it a little bit of control and to bring the level of the quiet parts up just a little bit. And we've got the chorus. I recorded this with a nice microphone and some nice outboard gear, so I didn't do a lot of processing to it. There's a little bit of EQ cutting out some high end on one of these vocal tracks. Most everything has auto-tune because I am not the best singer. I can get by, but I'm not going to say that I'm amazing for sure. And then this is something you're going to find that I'm doing a lot on here is I've got this API 2500, and what I feel like this compressor does is it adds like thickness to things, like it adds some like warmth and like, hate to use that word, warmth is like the cliche, I'm making rock music with outboard gear, blah, 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 but it does. It adds some warmth, it adds some thickness and some low end to things because of its saturation algorithm, I guess. And it also, obviously, it's a compressor, so it controls things. It brings up the low parts, the quiet parts and everything. So I use this on all of like the gang vocal stuff and all the like the verses and everything. So I didn't even show you the verse one up here. We skipped because we're on the chorus. So what this is doing, as I'll show you. Yeah! And honestly, listening back to that, it might have been better if I didn't do that compression, to be honest. It has a little more character. But, I was kind of going for like a even kind of sound here, so it works. Yeah, so that's pretty much everything for that. I just wanted to try this out to give you all an example of like what some of the process looks like. I didn't go into extreme detail. Some of this, I don't remember everything that I actually did on here and what was like kind of part of the presets and everything. And a lot of ideas I had while I was doing it are not things I retained. But I hope you got a little bit of like ideas of things you can do, just like the Mix with the Masters, watching that, like you don't want to copy them, but they give you ideas on things that are possible, things that are could sound good, even things that are like non-conventional or unconventional, that could sound really good. If you enjoyed or if you got something out of this, let me know what it was down in the comments. If you think it sounds like crap, let me know in the comments. Hit a like and hit a subscribe or hit a dislike, whatever you feel good about. Doesn't really matter. All love, and thank you for joining me. Catch you next time. Peace.